Today, I want to talk about the Legend of Zelda franchise and specifically where we might see Nintendo go with this franchise in 2024. Because if you've been keeping up with all of the Nintendo leaks and rumors over the years, you probably know there's some outstanding ones that we've still been waiting to see whether or not they're even true. Are games like the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess ports done and ready to go and being revealed at some point in time? Or are those projects that are just left to die on the Wii U until Nintendo maybe decides to bring them back further off in the future? And we actually had a lot of talk around the Legend of Zelda series towards the middle and end of 2023, where we had names like Jeff Grubb, who, whether you love the guy or hate the guy, you can't argue that he's gotten some things absolutely correct that would have otherwise been hard to predict. Things like GoldenEye coming to NSO and Xbox Game Pass, Metroid Prime Remastered, while he was off on the timing with it, it definitely was a real thing. And of course, we saw it revealed at the February Nintendo Direct in 2023. And some of the rumblings around Zelda started because of him in 2023, when he did originally mention that he heard from sources that something else Zelda, not related to Tears of the Kingdom, would be happening in that year. Well, of course, outside of the Oracle games dropping into NSO and some amiibo that were announced for Tears of the Kingdom characters, so obviously that kind of rules out those amiibo being tied to anything that Jeff Grubb may have heard. And then we of course had the big reveal that was Zelda news, and maybe this is what Jeff Grubb was talking about, but he never really mentioned it after it was revealed, and that's just the confirmation that Nintendo surprisingly is working on a live action Legend of Zelda movie that we don't know exactly where it's at in its planning, other than it sounds like it's been worked on for years from a script perspective, but not really in production motion just yet. So we're probably a couple years, maybe even 3 years plus out on that particular project, and I really don't think that that's what Grubb was mentioning. Then besides those rumblings, we also had Dr. Trentendo taking to Twitter with a identical tweet in the phrasing of it to some accurate information that we did see him reveal before, which his original tweet read Z 2022, and that was before the reveal of Tears of the Kingdom launching in 2022, which of course did not happen, but it is what Nintendo originally showed us at that June Nintendo Direct in 2021. And so Dr. Trentendo, while I'm not entirely sure everything that he's gotten right in his track record, he's definitely close to the gaming industry and no doubt has some contacts with his reporting within the industry, and I think that that's a fairly safe statement to assume that he may have good information. And he put out a tweet that read ZR 2023 and then deleted it after, which is a big detail that I think many didn't pay enough attention to. Maybe the deletion of that tweet and also the previous tweet that he had put out there was an indication that whatever information he had this time around it being something Zelda revealed in 2023 was just not accurate. And now that we are about to put a bow on 2023 and we know we really haven't gotten anything in the way of a new game announcement, I think that that is fairly safe to say, unless if you think that the Zelda movie was indeed the reference of ZR 2023. I don't know what the R would stand for. Many took that to mean remake or remaster, so the jury is out on what you want to decide on those existing leaks and rumors that are out there. But now we have to shift the conversation to what we might see come from the franchise in 2024. And there is some existing leaks or rumors floating around online that you can point to basically say that we're going to get something Zelda, some kind of classic remake, potentially some type of Capcom remake maybe, and we'll go through that tweet in a minute. That's actually not the biggest reason for making this video, but rather from Nintendo's own words themselves, they like to have a Zelda game every calendar year if possible. Now, Tears of the Kingdom was the big release for 2023, and 2022, you could argue, we really didn't see anything massive from the franchise. But you do have to realize that 2022 was Nintendo's original plan to launch Tears of the Kingdom, and since the game just needed more time to polish it, well, we may have been shifted off that pattern just a little bit in terms of Nintendo's one Zelda release every calendar year. But in 2024, when there is all the rumors and rampant reports online suggesting that likely Nintendo will be launching new console hardware in 2024, it gets harder and harder to believe that we won't see any kind of Zelda project in the year of 2024. And as mentioned, one of the things that has people talking online is a tweet from Nash Weedle. This is an individual that I am also indifferent on. I think you can say that he's gotten some very hard to guess things right, but we've been down the path of accounts like Samus Hunter and New Marco Maro before, where there. These are just fraudsters that are essentially trying to gain clout online, and they really don't have any inside info. And one thing they do tend to do is look at existing sources and rumors online from credible people and try to make educated guesses on what Nintendo might do, and sometimes they end up being right just enough to make you think that they're a reliable source, but they're really not. Now, Nash Weedle did get Metroid Dread right. That's kind of the biggest thing, even though Metroid Dread was of course a game that title was out there. It was just apparently canned back on either the DS or 3DS, but then brought back in the modern day on the Nintendo Switch. But the timing of the reveal from Nash Weedle around Metroid Dread and that specific title was definitely notable, because it was before Nintendo had officially revealed us that that project was coming back and was going to be Metroid 5, and we would see it brought to market. All of that happened before then. Then you also had things like the big leak that some Spain studio started receiving a next generation Nintendo console dev kit, and then we saw all of these reports from very credible places like VGC, Eurogamer, amongst others, that at Gamescom 2023 there was indeed some target spec PCs being shown off around what the next generation Nintendo console would be capable of. Things like 4K Breath of the Wild with minimal loading times, and the Matrix Awakening demo looking and running great with some kind of ray reconstruction or ray tracing that is enabled, that you could argue is maybe even superior to that of the current generation consoles. Well, the tweet that has people looking once again at Nash Weedle is the following, which reads CZR 2024. Now, he's clearly taking the formatting from Dr. Sarah Kentodo and basically putting it into his own tweet. And is this just a stab in the dark? What does the C even stand for? Some people think this could be like a controller reference. As I said, other people think it might be Capcom related, like a Capcom Zelda remake coming in 2024. And if you stop and look at Link's Awakening, it's entirely possible that Nintendo would want to give that same kind of treatment to the Oracle games or even the Minish Cap, but it could also mean just classic Zelda remake or classic Zelda remaster. And at that point, we could really be talking about any of the older games in the franchise. I mean, we know Skyward Sword has already gotten its remake on the Switch. We're not going to see that one messed with anytime soon. So anything pre Skyward Sword, in my opinion, is more or less considered a classic Zelda game at this point in time. We're talking about games that are nearing the 20-year plus old mark, if not older than that. Is it that heavily rumored Ocarina of Time remake? It's entirely possible, but we really don't have a whole lot to go off of in terms of what direction Nintendo will go with the franchise in 2024. But what I think is the core message of this video is that something Zelda is likely in the pipeline for Nintendo's release calendar in 2024. That's where I am setting my expectations for something to come out. Whether or not it is a classic remake of a 2D era game like A Link to the Past, Oracle games, or Minish Cap, or maybe they just do a more simple upres of A Link Between Worlds and bring that game over to modern platforms. Maybe it's actually finally time to see Wind Waker and Twilight Princess brought back either in a bundle pack or released individually, and they have some kind of 4K capable mode, and it will actually launch on the next generation Nintendo hardware. Or it might be that big Ocarina of Time remake from the ground up. Anything is on the table here, but what Nintendo will want to do is drive additional software sales by having one of their biggest franchise in the spotlight in 2024 in some way, shape, or form. And I think it's less likely that we get a brand new Zelda title that is something akin to A Link Between Worlds, like maybe the 2D Zelda team that used to take on new projects for handheld systems, and they just do something entirely new for the Nintendo Switch or Switch 2. I think it's less likely to be in that direction. The Zelda team in interviews have been very vocal about kind of leaving the past games alone where they're at in time, outside of maybe porting and remastering them. And really, when it comes to new Zelda games, their focus from this point forward is on this new direction from Breath of the Wild onward. It does sound like we don't have to worry about going back to the same Hyrule a third time in whatever Nintendo is cooking up for the next major Zelda game, but we also know that with those broad ambitions for where they want to see the franchise go, that you can't expect the new mainline AAA 3D Zelda anytime soon. 5-6 years from now is probably the soonest that we can talk about seeing that thing actually launch. But one thing that Nintendo has always historically done, and I believe will continue to do, is keep the fans entertained with some remakes, remasters, and ports while we are waiting on them to craft that next ultimate mainline 3D Zelda masterpiece. But that's where I really want to hear from you guys at this point in the video. Amongst all of the talk and speculation around some kind of unannounced Zelda project being out there, do you think that 2024 is the year that we will see Nintendo bring this forward, and what do you personally think it will be? Do you think it's most likely to be an Ocarina of Time remake, maybe Oracle games or Minish Cap get their Link's Awakening treatment, or do you think those long rumored Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are finally ready to go and that's what Nintendo has up their sleeves for 2024? Or are you in the camp that you think that all of these tweets and references, and whether Nintendo wants a Zelda game out every year or not, that it's actually not likely to see anything from the Zelda team in terms of a Zelda game release in 2024 period? But regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before we leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch the video on screen next if you haven't already. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.